Welcome to week one, the first full week of the Phil Steele Plus tour with selections. Once again, the purpose of this is to show you how to best utilize Phil Steele Plus, take advantage of all the great features that are on there, plus give you some nice free selections. Last week, the FBS selections going 2-1. There was an FCS selection last week that didn't count because the game didn't go 55 minutes. And the preseason game did not win, but 2-1 for the FBS. On today's tape, I have got 5 FBS selections for you and 2 FBS versus FCS selections. As you can tell, we're going to start off with SMU and North Texas. These are the team pages, and I always like to line them up with the home team on the right and the visitor on the left. Now, the one thing I want to start out with this game is we're going to take a look at last year. And we have halftimes. You see right here? This is your halftime score and halftime yards of the game. So if we look at last year's North Texas SMU game, you see that North Texas actually had a 228 to 162 yard edge at the half. Unfortunately, they settled for 22 and 19-yard field goals. They got stopped on downs once, and they only led 6-0. Then SMU got a 62-yard TD pass late in the half to make it 7-6. SMU then won in the second half. We also right here, if you click on box, this gets you the actual box score on the game, courtesy of collegepressbox.com. Collegepressbox.com kind enough to allow us to post their box scores right here on our site each week. They give you the complete box of the game. They give you the players' stats for the game. They give you the defensive stats for the game, the drives, and then what I do is I actually go through the play-by-play of every single game every single week using these right here. You just go through and you could see North Texas had a long drive here, had a 1st and goal at the 5, settled for a 19-yard field goal. North Texas here got stopped on downs at the 34-yard line, and then later in the second quarter, they come down here and had a goal again, 4th and goal at the 5, settled for a 22-yard field goal. Then SMU gets a late score here with just 3:44 left in the half to take the lead. And you can see the stats for the second quarter there. So it's all the way through the entire game, and that's available on every single game. Right here, just click on box score. Half times are available on every single game. And guess what? When you go to last 40 years results, let's click on SMU's last 40 years results. That takes you all the way back to 1976, and we actually started putting half times up right here in 2004. So you actually have half times for the last 17 years. You get the halftime of every game, and we started putting up totals back in 2003. Vegas started putting some TV totals out. Totals didn't even exist prior to like 2000. They started putting on some marquee TV games here. They then put more totals on, and we've listed every total. So you can go all the way back to 1976 on your logs. You get half times back to 2004. You get totals back to 2003 at your fingertips, every single team, all 131 of them. All right, so we see that North Texas was competitive with them last year. Now, another great feature of the site is right here. Just click on the opponent, and what happens is you get the last 25 years matchups at your fingertips. Let me show you how to read this now. The red over here means that North Texas lost the game. So SMU has won the last 3 in a row straight up and ATS in the series. You can see that at a glance. So you can see North Texas has lost 6 of the last 7. But over here, look at the home edge. The home edge now, if the word is win, that means that the team won straight up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2 or 8 and 2 is the home team straight up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 wins straight up, 2 losses, 7 and 3 ATS. So the home team does very well in this series, and this is on every team. When we get to, I'll show it to you on a later one where we can go to one that's played for 25 years. You have the last 25 years matchups at your fingertips. Let's see if there's anything else. Here's the yards of each game, the first downs of each game. Out here, this tells you whether the team covered or not. Red means they did not cover. Green means they did cover. And you'll see the opposite over here for SMU. You'll see SMU's numbers are in green, meaning they won those games. But the home remains the same. This tells you whether the home team won or lost That's the word win. The color means whether or not the home team covered. And here's even the total on the game. You can see it's pretty split here. You got 5 overs, 5 unders the last 10 years. And this tells you if there's any outright upsets in the series. There's only been one. So now let's take a look at my Inside the Press Box newsletter for this game. And we are going to go to my projected box score. Now, I do not make a forecast on a game without looking at my computer's projection. If you go to the early part of the magazine, check out the projected stats, you would be amazed at the end of the year how close the projected stats are to what the team actually does. I note that quite a bit in the offense and defense projections for the upcoming year. I say, hey, last year my computer did this, and they had this, and it's really remarkable going through it. But same thing with this. If you took a circle every time you were within 25 yards rushing, 25 yards passing, or within 3 points, you'd have circles all over your page because this thing is highly accurate. So this is the projected box score in a game, showing North Texas actually with a 192, 160 yard rushing edge, a 461, 450 total yard edge, and only losing the game by 1. Their two teams are close experience-wise. Schedule strength, ignore right now. That's not really anything because teams haven't played. North Texas, the only one that played. That's why they've got the 7. There was all the teams, only 18 teams played last week, so everybody else is at 19. Those schedule strengths will be come into play later in the season. But as you can tell, my computer actually thinks North Texas is pretty close. And then if you look at the logs, this is straight out of your magazine. So this is just showing you how valuable the magazine is. SMU, I've got SMU up here because, as you can tell, the coach is Rhett Lashley right now. But Sonny Dykes in his last 4 years here as an away favorite, he was 0-3, 2-3, 1-2, 0-2. So Sonny Dykes just 3-10 ATS as an away favorite. The computer says the game's close. North Texas has a game under their belt edge. The home team's 8-2 straight up, 7-3 ATS. North Texas is actually 4-2 straight up. Their last 6 in Denton. Add it all up. I'm going to take North Texas. They are plus 11.5 against SMU here. Take North Texas plus 11.5 over SMU as your first play for the Phil Steele Plus Tour. All right, let's go to your next game. It's USF at BYU. So now we're going to go to team pages, and we click on the American Conference here because USF is at home, South Florida. And over here, we'll click on the Independents and put BYU up. Now, at this point in the season, guys, the game-by-game stats in the first week, there's a lot of blank spots. But you can still get use out of these team pages. And then during the season, these are updated all week long with red and green. Red are bad numbers, so you could tell South Florida wasn't very good last year. Look at all the red here for losses, and there's their wins. So they're updated red and green each and every week. Gives you an average game grade out here, and then it gives you the game grade for the season. Gives you the last 4 weeks stats, the average game grade for the last 4 weeks. It's all available every week, just like your magazine, except even better because it's updated the day after the games are played all season long. So let's take a look at the USF-BYU game. First of all, let's look at the series history. Why not? And we see that South Florida's 2-0 against the spread in the series, 1-1 straight up. The home team has won both games. In 2019, South Florida won the game 27-23 as a 4.5-point dog. Last year, they lost by 8 as a 23.5-point dog, and that was on the road at BYU. So South Florida's done well in the 2 games that these 2 teams have played. If we take a look at some things from the magazine here, I'm going to take a look at, let's go to Jeff Scott's coaching box. And for Jeff Scott, look at his record. He is just 2-10 last year. His overall record is 3-18. That's not very good. But here we list the ATS records, and look at this. As a home dog, Jeff Scott is 5-1. This is on every page of your magazine. You know that. You knew that already. But make sure you use it each and every week. I do. I don't do a write-up without referring to coaches' records. So as you can see, Jeff Scott, 3-18 straight up overall. But what's his best category? It's as a home dog, where he's 5-1. Guess what? They're a home dog this week. Now let's take a look at Kalani Sitake's coach's box, and we bring it up over here. He's outstanding. He's 48-29. But look at this. As an away favorite, 7-11. And even closer, I don't have the BYU thing in front of me. Sataki's actually on a 4-9 ATS run as an away favorite. Let's see. I don't think I have BYU. Nope, I didn't get that. Todd, I didn't have Todd put that up for me. But basically, if you went back and looked at the spread, go back as an away favorite. He's 4-9 ATS the last 13. So you have a good home dog. This is Jeff Scott's best situation. This Kalani Sitake's worst situation, spread-wise, is as an away favorite. Now, here's something else you'll find interesting. I'm going to go to Baylor. Why am I going to go to Baylor when I'm looking at the USF BYU game? That doesn't make any sense. Well, I'll show you why it makes sense. The new quarterback for USF is Gary Bohannon from Baylor. And we list the individual player stats, and this goes all the way back. We give you each team. This is a team page. Takes you all the way down, color-coded green and red, all the way back to 2018. You want individual player stats this is each game during the season. We had it in a different format back then, but here's the format we have now. And the reason I'm bringing up Baylor is last year, let's go to 2021 player stats. Gary Bohannon did take on BYU last year. He had 18 of 28 for 231 yards with a 1-1 ratio, leading the win for Baylor over BYU last year. They won that game 38-24. So Bohannon has taken on this BYU defense already. Scott's great as a home dog. Satake's poor as an away favorite. The home team is 2-0 straight up in the series. USF last year scored on all 3 second-half possessions. You'll find this interesting. Let's take a look at a box score for the game. Baylor, if you look at the right here, this category, Baylor. No, not I'm on Baylor. That's why I got to go to South Florida. Sorry about that. Got confused for a second. We'll go to South Florida, and we're going to go to the BYU game, and we're going to go to here the second half possessions. USF in the third quarter got the ball, scored a touchdown. Got the ball, scored a touchdown. Got the ball, scored a touchdown. They had the ball 3 times in the second half last year, scored touchdowns on all 3 drives. In fact, they scored on 5 of their 8 possessions, and that was at BYU. That's a pretty good rate, scoring on 5 of your 8 possessions in that loss. So USF played BYU tough at home last year. They're the most experienced team in the country. Check your experience chart. They're number 1. They're playing in the heat and humidity of Florida. And it's a 4 o'clock game, so that amplifies the heat and humidity. And then the final thing I look at is last year, BYU took on Georgia Southern late in the year. Georgia Southern had an interim head coach, was going nowhere. They only led 20-17 at the half. That was their only trip last year to the East Coast, and they struggled against Georgia Southern. So add it all up. I like USF plus the 12 over BYU. That's USF plus 12, and there are some 12.5s out there as well over BYU. All right, let's get to the next one, and I'm going to give you a total on this one. We're going to look at the Army and Coastal Carolina game. Now, Army's on the road. Coastal Carolina is at home. And so let's get Coastal Carolina. They play in the Sun Belt. They're at home. List them there. Once again, nothing to see for this year. They'll be updated after the game has been played. But a couple things I want to point out in this game. First of all, Coastal Carolina, check your magazine. When you look at the individual stats, not the individual stats there, last year's individual stats. Well, right here. Grayson McCall is back, but they lose their top rusher, and they lose their top 3 receivers from last year. In fact, Coastal Carolina is one of the least experienced teams in the country. They only have, I think, 6 returning starters coming back. They're number 114 on my experience chart. Army's the more experienced team. They have 6 starters back on their defense. And once again, if you go up front to the front of the magazine, the projected stats, my computer's saying Army's defense this year will only allow 328 yards per game. So they have a good defense. Now, Army's offense should be bothered by the new chop block rules, which limit chop blocks to inside. You have to be inside the box, and it can only be players that are lined up inside the box to start the play. So I think that's going to affect Army's offense a little bit. Now let's take a look at how Coastal Carolina does against the option. And Coastal Carolina had played the option a couple times. Last year they played the Citadel, and the Citadel they held to 237 yards right here. That's pretty good. 237 yards total offense against the Citadel. They also played Georgia Southern last year, held them to 227 yards. The previous year against the option and Georgia Southern, They held them to 218 yards. So that's 3 games they played against the option. And they held each of those teams to 227, 218, and 237 yards. Coastal Carolina, very good against the option defensively. Both teams run a form of the option, and as you know, I use this quite a bit on the Phil Steele Plus Tour through the years when it's option versus option, Army versus Air Force, Army versus Navy. And granted, Coastal's not a complete option. They run a spread option. They throw the ball quite a bit, but they still have a lot of option implements to the offense, as you can see by their 5.1 yards per carry. So I think both teams are good at defending the option. Coastal Carolina very good at defending the option, and that's what Army has. The total 53.5. You're pretty used to this with me in Army games versus option-type teams. I'm going to go with under 53.5 in the Army-Coastal Carolina game. That is under 53.5 in the Army-Coastal Carolina game. All right, let's take a look at Tulane and UMass. This is a game that, I wasn't really all that wild about it, but the angles really stood out to me, so I'm going to throw it up here. And because UMass has a new head coach in Don Brown, new attitude. We saw what that did at Connecticut last week. But the one thing I want to point out here, if we go back and take a look at Tulane, their 10-year logs, you want to get a team where they're best. And, once again, you can see Tulane's won 9, 16, 23, 29, 31 games. They've lost 22, 28, 35, 43 games. So they've had a losing record. They're 46 and 77. But let's take a look at how they do as a home favorite. The last 3 years, 2-1, 3-1, 5-0. So despite the fact they have a losing record the last 3 years, as a home favorite, they are 10-2. Once again, this is taken out of your magazine. It has nothing to do with Phil Steele Plus, but I wanted you to make sure you use your magazine to the fullest. So you have a Tulane team that's 10-2 against the spread as a home favorite. I like that. This is definitely their best situation. Take a look at UMass here and see how they do as an away dog. 1-5, 2-2, 0-5-1, 1-4. So that's 1-9-1, 3-11-1, 4-16-1 for UMass as an away dog. That's not very good. So you've got a poor away dog versus a solid home favorite. And the one thing I want to point out also, if you look at 2021, look at this away here. They lost their road games by 38 points per game, got outgained by 302 yards per game. So they're a team that just doesn't play well on the road. They're in road openers. If we take a look at that, in road openers, if you take a look at UMass, they have in 2020, UMass lost to Georgia Southern. They lost to Rutgers. They did beat Duquesne, but Duquesne's an FCS team. They lost to Hawaii, Florida was the only game they beat over an FBS team. Loss. You can see that there's a lot of losses here. Overall, for UMass in road openers, they are 1-9 ATS. This Duquesne team was at home, by the way. Okay, road opener loss, road opener loss, road opener loss, road opener loss. 1-9 against the spread. So you have a team that's poor in road openers. Tulane's a strong home favorite at 10-2. UMass is 4-11-1. UMass lost their road games by 38 points per game. We're going to take Tulane minus the 28 over UMass. That's Tulane minus 28 over UMass is going to be that play. Now let's move on to your next one, and it is Colorado against TCU. So let's take a look at that. Colorado, I'm going to put on the right because they're the home team. And as you know, I picked Colorado last in the Pac-12 this year, not expecting a lot of things out of Colorado. TCU has a brand new head coach. But there's some factors. I wasn't even really thinking about this game at the start of the week, but as I analyzed it, broke it down, all of a sudden it became a Phil Steele Plus play, and let me show you why. Sonny Dykes, I just showed you how he does as an away favorite at SMU, how he did as an away favorite at SMU. That's SMU here, Sonny Dykes, away favorite, and once again, there's his record. Actually, when I was showing you SMU, they not only had that, they're 0-1 here as well. They're 5-13 overall as an away favorite. So it's not just Sonny Dykes. It's SMU overall, 5-13. But Sonny Dykes a big part of that. 2-6, 3-8, 3-10 as an away favorite for TCU. So that's a poor away favorite. And then once again, go back to find team strengths and weaknesses. Colorado hasn't been very good. But if you take a look at Carl Durrell here, As a home dog, he's 3-2 here, but even more impressively, let's go get his coach's box. Coach's box for Colorado. I don't have the Colorado coach's box, but I can tell you this. If you look in the coach's box under Colorado, it has got Carl Durrell is 10-2 in his career as a home dog. So Durrell hasn't had a great record, but he's 10-2 as a home dog. It's his best category. It's Sonny Dykes' weakest category. TCU could be playing 3 quarterbacks in this game. And then my projected box score, my computer, has got fairly close, 468 to 371. TCU winning 34-28. TCU's a double-digit away favorite here. So you have a team that's a poor away favorite playing 3 quarterbacks against a coach that's in his 3rd year with Colorado, and it's generally when they hit their stride. First-year coach, you playing 3 quarterbacks, first game with the team, laying 13.5 on the road to Colorado. This is a Friday night game, so this one you get to watch tonight. I'm going to take Colorado plus 14 over TCU. That's Colorado plus 14 over TCU. Now we'll show you the benefit of the FBS versus FCS games. We're going to start off with Iowa State on the right, and they are taking on an FCS team. So we click here, FCS, you have them all in alphabetical order. They're taking on Southeast Missouri State. Here is Southeast Missouri State, their stats from last year. By the way, all teams, if you click onto the forecast, they're all completely up right there. A complete write-up on each team. You want to know about the quarterbacks, running backs. The quickest way is look at the offense. It breaks it down. Defense breaks it down. The overall team tells you how they've done recently, what they've got to do this year, and the overall outlook. Southeast Missouri State, a decent team. And one thing I do want to share with you while we're talking FCS here is, let me go to one. I'm going to go to the home page. Come on. There we go. And the newest daily blog. And the one thing I want to point out here about these FCS games is very important. If we click here on the FCS, and by the way, Vegas Power Ratings, that blog will be up today. It'll be up probably by the time you see this. Vegas Power Ratings will be up here. But let's take a look at this FCS magazine. We give you a complete write-up on every game. As that says, we give you the last 5 years spread logs. Where do you get that? Right here. Well, it's not on Southeast Missouri's page, but it will be up on every page. Let me just hit refresh, see if it's up there. No, it's not. It will be on every page these last 5 years. Todd's putting them up. It'll be up on the Southeast Missouri State page by you get it. It's got the score and the spread of each game from the last 5 years. You get the stat leaders like you do on the college. And the beautiful thing about this is that if you purchase the digital magazine already, if you already have the digital magazine, you get the FCS magazine for free. It's back there. Just go to the back pages. We loaded them in there. If you want, you can get the FCS only version of Phil Steele Plus for just $29. That gets you complete access to all these FCS pages, complete write-up on the game, the last 5-year history, individual stats, updated every week during the season with an average game grade, color-coded green and red. You will love it. If you're an FCS fan, or, I mean, there's 117 games or something like that, FBS versus FCS this year. You can get all that on there. But let's go back now to the team pages and break down this one. Iowa State is taking on North Dakota State, and let's see what we got here. Let's go back here, and we'll go FBS, and we will click on Iowa State. Here's the thing. When you click on here, the matchup between an FBS versus FCS, look what you get. This is how Iowa State has done against every FCS opponent it's played since 1999. So naturally a lot of green, but even 3 reds here. They lost 3 games. Northern Iowa, North Dakota State, Northern Iowa. Now out here, spread-wise, look at this. Iowa State is 1-2 and 2-8 against the spread. And look at this. They were a 32.5-point favorite. They won by 6. They were a 23-point favorite. They won by 3. They were a 40.5-point favorite. They won by 3. They won by 18 here in a game they covered as a 9-point favorite. 9-point favorite, lost outright. And here they were a 3.5-point favorite, lost outright. 9.5-point favorite, lost. So as you can tell, they don't do very well, and winning their last ones by 3, 3, and 6. And in this game, Iowa State's actually laying 36.5 points, and they're one of the least experienced teams in college football. They're number 130 on my experience chart, and they have Iowa on deck. So that's a lot. Now let's take a look at how Southeast Missouri State does. Now, here's the one thing I want to point out about the FCS. This green, we don't have pages in there for Southeast Missouri State. So what we do is we pull the Missouri one over. As you can tell, the FBS team has won all these games straight up. However, look at how many times the FBS team has lost against Southeast Missouri State. Down here, the red is good. So you're looking at 1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2. The last 9 games against FBS foes is Southeast Missouri State. So they do well against the FBS. They do poor against the FCS. Iowa State's inexperienced. And Iowa State is also a poor home favorite. So you've got all that going for you. And what I like here, I'm going to go with Southeast Missouri State plus 36.5 over Iowa State. One more to show you. UC Davis against Cal. And so let's go to UC Davis. It's under U. And let's go to Cal. California is Pac-12. There we go. And let's take a look. Hey, there we go. We got the last 5 years spread logs here. This is a look at UC Davis's if you want to know the spread. Now, back here in 2017, they didn't really have lines on the games. But if they have a line on it, we track it. So we've been capturing the numbers since 2018. You could tell how these teams do as a home favorite, away favorite, how they've done in the series, what the spread has been. That's there for every team. $29 for the FCS for the season. And I do want to remind you, when you get inside the press box, see if I got it up here. Yeah. Inside the press box is my weekly newsletter. I have all 82 write-ups this week. All 82 are up there. If you get inside the press box, let me show you one thing right here. This is this week. If you go on there right now, naturally there were 16 games last night, so there's 66 games left. The regular price is $20 for a single issue. You can get the a coupon code, put in 82 games, you save $5 at your checkout. Just go here to the home page for this. All right, and then we're going to go to the store, which is up here. And when you go to the store, it's a little slow today. Here's Inside the Press Box single edition. Here's Inside the Press Box, or this is a magazine. Here's Inside the Press Box for the season. So if you want the single edition, just type in 82 games. You'll save $5 on that. But if you want the subscription Inside the Press Box, Phil Steele Plus is $99 for the year. Now, if you guys paid $99 for the year, you can actually deduct that from your Inside the Press Box because you get it Phil Steele Plus free. So college editions, $169. Take off the $99 for Phil Steele Plus. You're paying basically $70 for the newsletter. That's every write-up on every college game all year. The NFL is $169, every write-up on every NFL game. NFL and college through the bowls is $269. But right now, if you put in the code HUDDLE, just like I showed you last week, HUDDLE40 takes $40 off that. $129, $129, or $229 gets you my newsletter for the entire year. That's my write-up on every game, my forecast on every game, my computer's forecast on every game, both yards and points. I think you'll find it very interesting all season long. So use the code HUDDLE40, and once again, just go right here and pick any of those, and you get Phil Steele Plus free. That's why I mentioned that right now. But okay, let's go to this final game that we're going to look at here, and we're going to look at California against UC Davis. So at California, once again, if you click on this for the UC Davis page, you can see that Cal has won all their games against the FBS teams. But look at this. They've lost the last 4, and they've only won by 12. They've won by 14. They've won by 22, and they've won by 13. Laying 29, 35.5, 14.5, and 24. This game here, they're laying 21.5. And Cal is one of the least experienced teams in the country. Again, just 8 returning starters. Meanwhile, UC Davis, if you go to the forecast here and come down here, you can see they have 17 returning starters this year. 9 on offense, 8 on defense. Complete write-up on all the FCS teams on my FBS thing. And then we take a look at your coaches box here. If we go to the coaches box, once again, Justin Wilcox so far, 26-28, decent. He's actually got a 28-25-1 spread record. That's pretty good. But where does he struggle? Well, as a favorite. 3-11-1 as a favorite, 2-5 as an away favorite. So he's actually 5-16-1 as a favorite, 22-7 as a dog. Guess what? Justin Wilcox, play him as a dog, play against him as a favorite. He's got a little over 500 winning percentage against the spread, but he's 3-11-1 as a home favorite. So you have a poor home favorite that's 0-4 against the FCS against the spread. UC Davis is just the exact opposite. Look at this red here. Now, once again, down here, the red is good for the FCS team. UC Davis has covered 6 in a row. They knocked off Tulsa. They knocked off San Jose State. They only lost to Cal by 14. They lost to Stanford by 20. They lost to San Diego State by 21. So the last 5 against FBS, they haven't lost a game by more than 21. They're getting 21.5 here. I like UC Davis plus 21.5 over California as your final play for this week. I showed you some discounts on the selections for this week. There you go with 8 plays, 2-1 for the FBS. We got 7 plays this week, 2-1 for the FBS, 5 more plays for you this week. I hope you enjoyed the Phil Steele Plus tour. I hope you learned a little bit more about how to use the site, and I hope you take advantage of those discounts. And I'll be back with you next week with the Phil Steele Plus tour for week 2, and we'll have actual games in there updated for this season. Thanks for watching and taking the Phil Steele Plus tour.